Every time I see a video like this, there's a few things that I go look for, and 9 times out of 10 I find it. Oh my gosh, what's wrong?
Wondering if anybody's feeling the same way I'm feeling.
Oh no, I mean probably. There's millions of people on this app, so what's going on? Let us know.
I'm from Illinois, and I feel like the gas prices and the electric bills and the prices of food is just so overwhelming anymore.
Oh, absolutely 100%. You know, my wife and I were having this conversation last night when we were talking about why nobody listened months ago. But hold on, is this you?
But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now.
Yep, that is you. And here's your repost. Here's one repost. Mass following for everyone who supports and proud to say they support this crap. And here's another one that says, to MAGA, let the dim supporters say whatever they want. Stop responding and engaging with them. God has already given us the country. Congratulations, you're crying about the problem that you created.
I work overtime, and I cannot get above water.
And let me guess, you voted for this because you thought that overtime was not going to be taxed. And then, of course, you found out that that's just another dupe, another lie. See, because when you went to the ballot box and you voted for this, you voted for that, so I don't feel bad for you, but I do feel bad for all the people that this is actually affecting and they didn't ask for this, so,
Here's the real shit. I am leaving this country, the United States, in 213 days. My son and I are moving there, and I am spending day after day researching schools, where to live, how to afford this, visas, taxes, everything. And I'm angry. I'm angry because I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to leave this place. I shouldn't have to walk away from everything I know. But between looking for jobs for, month after month after month, with everything that's going on, with what they're doing to immigrants, with what we are doing to other countries, I can't be here anymore. I can't breathe here. I am sitting here, though, worried because I've got 2 other kids who are in college here.
Everybody wake up! It's time to stand up!
This is the first month I won't be able to afford rent. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have basic household necessities, a couch, a bed, washer, a dryer. That's about it. A car. I don't have a lot of lavish things. I don't go on vacations, and I don't spend a lot. Rent's increased from the food prices are too high.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm your number 1 host and the presenter G Stories. In today's video, there's something that I want us to talk about, something which is really important. You understand that there's a wave of white people that are understanding what black people have been going through. Probably you're not hearing this for the first time, but there's just something beautiful about having not to have to prove to a person what you've been going through. The history itself reminds them what black people have been going through. Remember, history repeats itself, but this time round, history didn't just repeat only to black people. History repeated itself, and it happened now to also white people, in as much as it's also happening to black people. And you understand that this is an important historical point in the United States, because for much of American history, black Americans have lived under the conditions of economic precarity. They have lived political exclusion and social vulnerability, which was produced by slavery. You need to understand that. Remember Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, and labor exploitation. All these activities were not accidental, but they were outcome of deliberate structural arrangements which were designed to stabilize wealth and power for the elites, while black labor as expendable and disposable. White Americans, particularly working and middle-class whites, were historically shielded from the full force of the systems through racial privilege, access to better jobs, social safety nets, and the psychological wage of whiteness, as W.E.B. Du Bois explained. Whiteness functioned as a buffer offering status and protection even when many of these buffers were eroding. Now exposing white Americans to conditions long familiar to black communities. And this is what is happening right now, brothers and sisters, because they are coming to understand all the struggles that black people are going through. So brothers and sisters, let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be giving my commentary in regards to this. I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. So let's watch the video. I'll be back in regards to this. Thank you.
Ladies, now is not the time to crash out on this app, okay? I've seen 4 videos this morning of white ladies crying on this app and saying it's too much and they can't handle it. I know, okay? I know, I feel you. This is really hard. Communities of color have been warning us about exactly what is happening. Okay, you might not have processed that this was going to happen, but they have. They've been processing it, they've been seeing it, and they've been trying to get our attention. We have not really been listening.
Welcome to America. Tell me what you're thinking.
Just so much.
Kleenexes, please.
I've always been interested in history and the history of black people. I took Afrocentric classes at U of L. My grandma lived at 2821 West Kentucky Street. I've read so many books, and now I belong to a church that's primarily African American, and I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Beautiful. Thank you.
He's like crying because he's like, it's so hard to make it. I'm trying. I'm a disappointment to my wife again, and it's so hard. And then he's like, we should all come together. I don't care whether you're black, white, we should all come together. Oh, I get it. So now it's switching, and the curses are like coming on you guys, and you guys are experiencing what black Americans, the children of Israel, the real Jews from the same tribe as Jesus Christ, have been experiencing for centuries, right? So you guys were okay. As long as you guys were ahead of us, you guys were fine. You guys lived in perfect YT Jesus heaven on this earth, and everything was fine, and you were above the NIGGAs, right? So when you had your stature and your position, everything was fine. Now that it's switching, right? Because the Most High is propelling the real people, right? Now it's like, oh, let's come together, and you're crying, and it's us. Oh, so now it's us at the bottom versus them at the top, right? But you guys were in cahoots with those at the top because they look like you, right? And they gave, yeah, sure, you might haven't had as much as the people at the top, your people at the top have had, but you've had still tremendously amounts more than black people at the bottom. So now you guys see your reality. It's not what it once was. Your YT card is, it hasn't been accepted. It hasn't. That YT card, it's not working how it used to when you try to swipe it. It's not. You know what I mean? So now it's like, oh, now let's all come together and we're in this together and it's us against. No. You can miss me with that. No. Any kingdom, there's people at the top and there's people at the bottom, right? So now black people, black Americans, and throughout the African diaspora, right, we're going to be at the top. You guys are going to be at the bottom now. This is how, in case you haven't realized, this is how this works. This is how this works. This is how you guys' kingdom worked. This is how it worked, right? So now it's with the first shot. See, y'all say y'all believe in the Bible, but at the end of the day, like, y'all always ignore that scripture. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. White people, weren't you guys at the top? Right? And we've been last. So now God says that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. This isn't the first figures out that the last are going to be first, and now the first want to come together now with the last. See, y'all just manipulate and do things because at the end of the day, y'all just want to be where the stuff is at because you guys are the fleshly people. You guys are the fleshly people. So wherever the stuff, y'all don't care about nothing else, right? As long as you guys enjoying your blessings and the stuff, that's what y'all want to be at. Okay, that's fine, right? I mean, you guys sold your freaking birthright for a bowl of soup, right? Some chicken tenders. You know what I'm saying? That's what Esau did. That's what the YT man did. He sold his entire birthright for flesh. That scripture is symbolic that they are the fleshly people. You know, so no, this isn't muddy the waters, right? See that you guys are becoming undone. Now it's like, oh snap, now let's get underdone. Like, no, y'all keep playing with the Most High like the Most High is stupid, and it's like, buddy, dude, get it together, dude. Get it together. You guys had your turn. What you are best doing is accepting your fate, just accepting your position, and cleaving to the real children of Israel, right? Like, this dude, literally, he was crying. Like, this white tea man was crying his eyes out. Like, oh, yeah, my family, and I'm a disappointment, and this. Find the video. It's online. It's like, nah, you guys are seeing what's happening now, right? Seeing that the devil lied to y'all. He lied to everybody, but he lied to y'all. He made y'all think y'all was something that y'all wasn't by exporting fake white tea Jesus all over earth. He did that. Don't blame us. Don't blame us.
It doesn't matter who you are. It's not just an extra few dollars here and there. It's a lot of money, and it's meat, dairy, your regular produce, even the cheap foods like rice and beans. All of this is going up. Families are really having to choose between having full meals or full tanks of gas sometimes. Seniors are skipping meals. They're skipping fresh food because they say that they can't afford it. Parents are stretching food stamps further than ever before, and people are still coming up short. And it's not just inflation. It's a system that is completely out of touch with what real people are actually living through right now. One thing you can do that I find is pretty helpful if you really kind of want to foresee what you're going to purchase and how much you're going to spend is go on a site like Walmart.com if you're going to shop at Walmart. And there you can add things to your cart as if you're going to order online. And then it'll show you a total at the very end. So if you know that you only want to spend $50, then you can already add what you think you're going to need into that online cart. Make sure it's under $50 and then take a screenshot of that. Go to the store and only get those items. That way you can know right now what the prices should be close to. So that's kind of a hack that some people do and I think can be helpful. And another huge thing is to really focus on buying nutrient dense foods. So rice, beans, oats, potatoes, foods that really are just going to fuel your body without breaking budget. And I know white rice may not be a super nutritious food, but it is a great filler food. You can opt for brown rice, which is going to have more nutrients in it. But regardless, you want to look at foods like that you actually need to cook and prepare. It's not just going to be prepackaged. And on that note, if you're not already cooking from scratch, start doing that. You're going to save a lot more money in the long run. It's going to be healthier for your family. Even though it might be a small package of rice and beans, that can be stretched out throughout the week. So it's really beneficial to do that than buy things like minute rice and things that are already prepackaged, ready to go. Now, in terms of food that is ready to eat, I am a big advocate of having things that are prepared in advance, and you can keep that in your pantry. We like to call it like a prepper pantry, where you have items lined up that you do eat that are shelf stable and they can be there for a very long time for your time of need. And that is something that you can do little by little. Definitely build that up. It is like a savings bank for your family in terms of food. And the good thing with that is that you are able to buy it now. It's going to be shelf stable, and eventually the prices of those items are going to go up, and at least you captured it when it was cheaper. You can do the same thing with meats and other things that you want to freeze in your freezer or a deep freezer. Buying things now is going to save you some money because then you can actually capture the price of today and then wait a little while until you need to buy it again. And also buy what's on sale. Buy what's in season. There's going to be more savings with that, so definitely do that. It's really easy to, just want to make certain items and then get to the store, pick out those items that are needed for the ingredient list, and then you're going to spend a lot of money. But if you go looking for what is affordable right now, a lot of times it's going to be your basic rice and beans. Carrots are usually really affordable. Onions, bananas, things like that, some jalapeno peppers. There are a lot of certain things that are usually very, very cheap and affordable at the store, so you can save a lot if you're not just trying to get things that you want, but just making sure that you're looking at the price point of these items. Potatoes, obviously that's another excellent one to include. And also right now might be a great time to cut out more things that are a little bit more like luxury items. So prepackaged items, specialty drinks, things that you don't necessarily need, even though you want. Even if you can cut back on a few of those items, it's going to help your pocket. Maybe instead of spending extra money on energy drinks, you can spend that money on some cans of food and put that up in your pantry. So leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have any tips for when you go grocery shopping or what your grocery shopping bill is looking like these days. And I hope you're doing well as always, and take care. I will see you in the next
one. Real reason why America's crashing out like crazy right now. Mediocrity don't hit like it used to, baby. See, once upon a time in America, you could be real mid and still thrive. Mediocre effort, boom, you get a house, car, annual vacation, pension, hell, maybe even a boat. You could clock in, coast through the week, grill on Sundays, and still retire with dignity. But that era is dead and gone, baby. And instead of leveling up or adapting, they're mad, they're bitter, and they're not even blaming the billionaires. They blaming you. They have the audacity to blame me. They blaming immigrants, black people, queer folk, anyone they think is taking something that used to be theirs by default. See, they don't want equality. They want comfort. And when mediocrity no longer gets them that comfort, they start rewriting the rules to rig the game again. It ain't about fairness. It's about preserving the lie. The lie that being average should still be enough for them.
So I just watched a video of a white woman literally crying about the conditions of the United States, how she has to work 60 hours and she's looking at other countries and they don't even have to work 40 hours, how they can take a train for like pennies on the dollar anywhere they want. Meanwhile, like our country's infrastructure is falling apart. How it feels like there's no support nets. It feels like all the safety nets are dissolving and she doesn't understand why. And I both hate and love to remind these folks that the reason why the United States is the way it is because of y'all. A lot of you are the descendants of folks, or might actually be some of the folks, who were more invested in not sharing all of the programs, all of the initiatives that the United States was starting with marginalized people, specifically black people. Y'all are some of the same folks who would have rather filled in the pools in your neighborhood than share them. Shut down the schools and the libraries rather than share them. That you would rather vote against any forming of these safety nets or any protections for these safety nets rather than share them with marginalized people. Then you look up a generation or two or less later and wonder why you don't have these safety nets to protect you, because you were banking on your whiteness to keep you safe. And a lot of you learned pretty quickly after this election that you don't even have that to keep you safe. That unless your bank account has something like 7 digits in it, that the folks that you were banking on to protect you won't. And that some of the safety nets that maybe your mama or your family had relied upon, like SNAP or Medicaid or Medicare or any of those other basic safety nets, are going to be eradicated by the very people that you voted for. May I suggest, instead of crying, you strap up? The whole bootstrap thing that y'all be telling my people about. Remember that you get what you pay for. For everybody else who's not invested in crying, maybe some suggested reading. These Some of Us by Heather McGhee. It talks about how equality is not a zero-sum game. This book has torn me up several times that I've read it, but it is essential reading. So for the next few years, might want to be diving in instead of crying on the internet. Just a thought.
I'm with Walmart. If you saw my video just a little bit ago about how much I spent for just 29 items, I had to use my credit card because I couldn't afford it. I'm a single mom. Come on, people. Trump, everybody, lower the grocery bills. We gotta eat. We gotta feed our kids. Come on, really take this seriously. Trump, the administration, anybody listening, please lower the grocery bills. We can hardly afford this stuff anymore. Thank you and bye. This is my rant for the day. It's Saturday. Bye, guys.
$17.33. That's how much I paid today for this coffee. I'm here and I'm just adding some numbers together and doing my budget, because you know what, today I asked my husband, where's the money? We're making the best we've ever made. Both earners, both incomes, good incomes and everything, and we don't have money. We're living paycheck to paycheck basically. So I put the numbers together and I decided to look at my budget. On June the 2nd, 2023, and I'm going to try to insert somewhere here the photo. I took a shot of, how much I paid for it. On June the 2nd, 2023, the same exact coffee was $9.92. It's almost doubled in 2 years. Of course, my salary hasn't doubled. My income has not doubled. It went up a little bit, but certainly nowhere near that. And I don't know where my money goes. Every month, I'm struggling.
I honestly do not understand the price of groceries these days. I love beef, but guys, at this rate, I can't afford to eat beef. I can't afford it.
People aren't spending any money anymore. They just don't have it. Do you have it? Do you have the money to go out right now and take a vacation? Because I don't have it. A lot of people don't have it anymore. Disneyland numbers are down. All the airlines, their numbers are plummeting right now. A lot of the airlines are in serious trouble right now. But the money's just not there. I'm sitting in front of a restaurant right now that usually has a waiting line that you have to go into. 6 months ago, you had to wait to get in there. Now, I can walk right up to the counter, order my food, sit down, a couple minutes. The people just don't have extra expendable money. You go to the grocery store, you're going to spend $200 for 3 people. Who spends less than $100 in a week? Do you spend less than $100 a week? Please like, share, and repost this, but the money's just not there anymore. Return on investment to go to work, just not there anymore. The only people that are spending the big money inside the grocery store are the people with the cards. And I ain't got one. Do you got one?
Who do you guys think Donald Trump is trying to convince of his bullshit? Himself or you? This morning he posts this. Prices are down. Income is up. Our border is closed. Gasoline is cheap. Inflation is dead. Our country is booming. Companies are pouring into America like never before. The border might be closed, but prices are not down. Income is not up. Gasoline is certainly not cheap. It's up from when Joe Biden was in office. Inflation is down, but why does he post stuff like this? Because he's trying to convince you or himself?
So who is Tom trying to convince of this bullshit? Himself or you? Let's go through it all and let's take a look and see if he's right. So let's start with year over year for the Consumer Price Index. Now this is going to include all items, basically prices as a whole. Here, April 2024, we're at a 3.4% over a baseline of 0. 1 year later, April 2025 shows a 2.3%. Prices are down. Median household income year over year shows a 0.3% increase, just under $83,000 a year on average. Income's up. The gas prices are interesting because a year ago, gas prices were at $3.53 a gallon. Today they're at $3.08. I would say gas prices are down, wouldn't you? Inflation's easy. 2.9% in 2024, 2.3% in 2025 so far. I would say inflation is down. Now with the jobs report, there was an expectation to increase 125,000. Well, they beat that, 139,000. Jobs are up and the stock market's responding to it. So let me ask again, who is Tom trying to convince? Himself or you? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and follow. This is for educational and entertainment purposes.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. Now you've heard white people themselves come out and talk about this, and we also have heard the input of what also black people says in regards to this. And so brothers and sisters, I'm going to be talking about the collapse of the post-war social contract. Yes, we are seeing the collapse of post-war social contract, and I'm going to be explaining. Remember that after World War II, many white Americans benefited from a strong social contract that was stable employment, rising wages, affordable housing, and access to higher education, largely financed by the state, but racialized. It was racialized, restricted in practice, and understand that black Americans were systematically excluded from these benefits through discriminatory policies despite paying the same taxes and contributing labor. Beginning in the late 1970s, neoliberal economic restructuring, that is deindustrialization, deregulation, union busting, and austerity, began dismantling this social contract. What makes the current moment distinctive is that these policies are no longer racially selective. White Americans are now experiencing job insecurity, decline in real wages, unaffordable housing, medical debt, and diminished upward mobility. Conditions Black Americans have navigated for generations without institutional protection. So you understand, this is what Black people have been going through, and there have not been buffer for Black people. Black people didn't have any buffer, right? As I said, history repeats itself, and this is what is happening. Let me talk about precarity without racial insulation, right? One reason the current crisis feels shocking to many white Americans is that they are encountering precarity without racial insulation. Historically, even poor white schools expect preferential treatment in hiring, policing, lending, and political representation. But for Black Americans, by contrast, they faced both economic hardship and racialized punishment. And today, algorithmic management, corporate consolidation, and financialization have reduced labor to disposable input across racial lines. Understand that while racial disparities still persists, we need to know that, right? White Americans are increasingly sociologically subject to layoffs, surveillance, debt traps, housing insecurity, and sociologically, this represents a convergence of vulnerability, not equality, but shared exposure to systemic risk that was once disproportionately imposed to Black populations, brothers and sisters, right? So, in that line, there's something important that I can't stop talking about, and that's the myth of meritocracy, the meritocratic collapse that is sees happening in the United States. Let me talk about it. For decades, American ideology rested on the belief that hard work guaranteed stability and success, right? A narrative that often dismissed Black suffering as a result of individual failure rather than structural design. Understand that Black scholars and activists constantly demonstrated that meritocracy was a myth, masking inherited advantage and racialized exclusions. As white Americans now find that education no longer guarantees employment, loyalty to employment yields no security, no productivity is rewarded with burnout rather than stability, the myth becomes unattainable. This lived contradiction forces a reckoning, right? The system was never broken. It was functioning exactly as it was designed. Prioritizing capital accumulation over human well-being, right? So that was a myth. And the myth that was sold to Americans was the myth of meritocracy, right? But the truth about this myth wasn't just the meritocracy itself. It was the structural issues that was hidden under the myth. That was what was happening during that time, right? So I'm also going to be addressing the state withdrawal and punitive governance, right? Understand that Black communities have long experienced the state of punitive rather than protective, over-policed, under-resourced, and criminalized rather than supported. Social services were minimal, while surveillance and incarceration were extensive. Now, in recent decades, the model of governance has expanded outward. White Americans increasingly encounter a state that withdraws from the welfare provision while intensifying control through fines, through fees, policing, and bureaucratic punishment. The result is shared experience of abandonment through not identical in scale, though not identical in scale of or history. What is new is not suffering itself, but who is allowed to suffer without explanation or apology, right? Let's talk about psychological disorientation and political backlash. The erosion of racial privilege without a corresponding framework for understanding structural inequality produces psychological disorientation among many white Americans because whiteness historically promised protection. And now understand that it fails like a betrayal rather than continuity. This helps explain the rise of political resentment, conspiracy thinking, reactionary movements. Instead of recognizing that Black Americans were early victims of a system that now consumes everyone, some white Americans seek to restore lost privilege rather than to dismantle the structure itself. Black scholars have long warned that systems built on exclusion eventually destabilize entire social. What we now see is that warning that materialized, right? There's a moment of potential solidarity. At the same time, a deeper division. The central question here is, raised by this convergence of struggle, is whether it will produce a solidarity or even deepen division. Black intellectual traditions from Du Bois to Martin Luther King to contemporary political economists have consistently argued that racial hierarchy weakens democracy and ultimately harms all working people. The current moment offers empirical confirmation of that thesis. White Americans are now experiencing a new injustice. They are experiencing the expansion of an old one. Whether this realization leads to structural reform or a reactionary retrenchment, this will shape the future of American reform. The lesson is clear. The system that normalizes Black suffering eventually normalizes suffering itself. Brothers and sisters, I'm your host, Eugene Talk Stories, your #1 host presenter. Until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.